Okay, we'll do it now. What we'll do is catch up with, we're doing the cantha stitch.
I'm sorry.
No, we're good.
I all of a sudden just went, dang.
Okay, everybody, we found that we were going ahead with the class and the record button didn't get on, so I'm going to kind of catch you up. The very first thing we're doing with this kit is the cantha. So we started out, I have a 6-strand did you hear that? I almost said dental floss, of embroidery floss. And then we divided it up into 2 parts of 3. So you're going to be working with a 3-strand when you do your cantha. There's should be an embroidery needle in there. So you're going to thread that. We started out with just doing a little knot like you would with any sort of fabric stitching. And we went in and out of both sides. And I'm going to switch it this way. I'm just going to kind of catch you up. The fabric is, it's got a full, what do we call it? A lining, a polyester little lining. It's not interfacing because it's not stiff, it's more soft, but to give it a little more of a pillow feel to it when you would do it. And then what I was telling Carla and Maggie when we would do it, it's basically about not quite 4/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch. It's kind of how my eye holds natural line, and I think everybody's different. But what I do try to do is longer stitches. I did test on the original, I did shorter stitches, and that's fine. And you can see they're not perfect, they're kind of wonky. Do what you're comfortable with. It's just basically to give it that primitive. There's a little bit of primitive looking here to give it that primitive look with the line. And by missing the very start of this with our recording, it's not a problem. And so here I'm going to just show you. I'm going to take you through a few stitches. And we were talking about cantha. Cantha, when you look it up in the embroidery sense, is listed as straight line embroidery. And Maggie and Carla, who are in the class, we were both talking, our generation, we learned this more as basting on fabric. And that's just probably our age and who we learned from. So now this is called straight stitch cantha. It sounds so sophisticated, doesn't it? You can just say straight, we're doing cantha embroidery. It sounds a little hip, bohemian.
It sounds like it came from whoever created batik fabrics.
Yeah, and that's yeah. And there a lot of cantha work is done on the Indian saris and their fabric.
Oh.
Because you'll see cantha bedspreads. If you look at, I'm kind of throwing some names out, Sundance catalog, cantha was a big deal with their home furnishings. So, and of course, I'm thinking my kits, because they're not original fabric we're working with. This is actually a copy of the batik I did and then printed, but nobody's marketing this particular design because I still hold it. It's not been sold to anybody. So that's what's kind of neat because the fabric itself is unique. What we're working on is a linen cotton mix. So it's kind of
I felt like it had linen in it.
Yeah, lightweight canvas a little. It is. Now I've washed them, and
Really?
yeah, I've washed them. It's like anything with cotton, you're going to have a little wrinkle, but steaming them, I tell you, of course, now we have to figure out who has an iron anymore, but steaming them works really well. Now you can see, I'm kind of trying to see here. And then another way you can say, are you even? So you kind of fold it in half and just kind of look. How did we finish off? Not too bad. Sometimes I kind of get a little off. Yeah, I'm off here. See that one? But pretty much is lining up. So we're staying pretty cool. And I did the straight cantha on here. You can do little stitches around the whole piece if you want. I mean, you're not locked into, I just give you enough thread to do this particular look. Doesn't mean you can't go out. I did go rogue on another piece, and I literally did embroidery stitches in here, a lot more embroidery than beads. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, that would be fun to do.
And fabrics, and pulled out my DIC thread to get some colors. All right, so how about you guys? Are you ready to go on to the next step?
I'm okay to move on. I haven't finished all of my straight.
How far are you? I want you to get enough done so we can maybe do some bead embroidery over it. I'm not worried about you knowing how to do it. I feel based on what I'm hearing, everything's good.
I'm only halfway through, so I'll just keep, if you need to move it on, I'll just.
I'm gonna finish this row. What about you, Maggie?
I'm all done.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're all done. So yeah, I think what we're
She
gonna,
started early.
I did.
that's okay, Maggie.
I did.
We all know you excel. You are a, what do we call it?
A type A? Would that be a type A person?
No, not high maintenance at all. An achiever,
No.
an achiever. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
OCD?
No, I wasn't thinking that at
Yeah,
all.
all of that stuff. That's all right. I'll own that.
I'm the high maintenance one, according to my family. All right, so let's go on, and we are now going to start. We've done all of this. Now we are going to start right here. Now this kind of shows you not starting on the corner. You know where I'm going to start? I'm going to start in the middle. And because I do want us to, because this is kind of done by time frame, I'm going to want us to start kind of above the star, and we're going to work around the corner, because then we'll get the corner in and we'll be able to come back and add extra beads, because we are adding beads to both sides. So get your colored beads out and just kind of put them in your piles. And these are size 8s, size 8 beads.
Mhm.
Let's see. What did I use? I used red, teal, green, yellow, red, teal, green, yellow. I repeated it. And I like that. And you know why? Because remember the old lights, they were always those colors and maybe a white in there. I didn't use white in this one. So it's kind of to replicate some tree lights. So I'm doing teal. I might have to move this. Red, yellow. Wait, I'm going this way. Red, teal, green, yellow. Okay. Gotta switch it around because I want to do it the same way. If I have to look back at it, it'll be quicker. Red, teal, green, yellow. We're going to put this on now. This starts the fire line. So we go to our beading needle, which is size 10. I use 10. We're not real fine. I'm going to take this needle off so I don't hurt anybody, including myself. We're using not the 11s, we're using the 8s in the palladium. I did the metal finish palladium. So Carla, did you miss the whole card? So you don't even have a beading needle other than you're supplying your own needle?
Well, I have beading needles.
Yeah, but you didn't
But-
get this card, right?
I did not.
All right, I'll take care of you.
Don't,
your-
I mean, that's not a big deal.
It is to me. We need to have, anybody that shops and there's an oops, which I consider this a pretty good oops. And I do use quite a bit of thread. So I use what they call a, what is it?
You know what? I do have, you don't have to. I just looked again and I found the needles.
Oh, good. Good.
When I unwrapped the floss, I just never flipped it over.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad. Hey, I'm glad.
Yeah,
So what I just did, normally we don't in beading, everybody weaves in their tails. I
Right.
just made a little knot, but I melted mine because I am into the zap it or the thread zap it. And then on the other side, I'm sure you guys are all proficient with threading, but I do the pinch and I put the needle through the thread, not the thread through the needle. So I flattened it out with a chain nose pliers. I pinch it, kind of feathers it out. Sometimes that feathering isn't good and I gotta go back, but then I pinch it. You kind of see it in there? Or is that?
you needle the thread, right?
I needle the thread, yep, and then I put the needle through. And I usually get it pretty quickly. All right, so we got a little stopper at the end, which is our little knot. I'm going to go to our directions. It shows us just putting on a silver and a color, okay? So we're going to I'm going to go through, I'm going to start above the star. Like I said, I'm doing with the tree side toward me. I'm actually, let's get some of this out of here. Usually I try, you can tell I did this morning in a hurry. Usually I try to get all that little trimmy stuff out of there. Okay, I got my needle coming from back to front. It should stop. Yep, it does. Okay, and I'm going to put that on there. I'm picking up a silver and my first color is red, and that's what I'm going to use. And now I've got that on there. And you'll see in your directions, it tells you to get your needle, bring your needle from the back, up back through the front, right next to it. So now here's another eyeball issue. I think that's probably, a little like 1/8 of an inch. I go pretty close to the next. There you go. So can we kind of see that? Okay, so then we pull it. So we're coming out the top, but I put my beads on and then now I'm coming out from back to front. And I kind of have, this is we're entering into the brick. So now I'm going to go up my red color bead and it sits more like a tire now. Later on, when I come back, this will set this. I don't go back and forth because we already have the knot in, it's holding, and we just start doing our edge. Okay, so now we're going to go after red, according to the picture, which should be on the back. After the red comes the teal. So now we're going to add a teal. Let's see. We'll go every other. So it will be teal and it will be silver next. So whoops, no. After the red comes the silver. We're doing silver after every color. Yep. So I'm back to front, got the bead on. and I come straight up the bead. Now I can put on my next color, which is my teal. And this is really a brick stitch. Right now, we're laying the path of a brick stitch. Any questions here, you guys? So it went, let's do it again for maybe the people that will join us later. We're doing silver color. And once the thread comes out of the front, we go up the bead and we add another bead and we go from back to front with our needle. I kind of hold it with my middle finger there just to kind of keep it in place. And I go from the bottom of the bead up. There you go. And that keeps it like a little tire sitting on top of that edge. Yes, you see the white on some, you're going to see some edging, but we do come back and we do the bead where we've put some extra beads on there, okay? And we'll do front and back. So let's keep going. Everybody understand that one? Is that making sense?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, I just did a metal, so now I'm going to do green. And also, I didn't mention, I'm putting it in order. That helps me because obviously I can I lose track, and there you're sitting there and you got two greens together. Oh, that really is irritating. Okay, now we're going to do, and we're here at the Bobby Bead studio. I should mention that on our recording. Thank you, Bobby Beads, for allowing us to do our class here today. And now we're going to put on a yellow. What I want to achieve here for the class is just to, get around and get this corner. Everybody kind of gets a little gun shy on corners, and I just take it as it comes. I don't really worry about the corners unless there's a reason. With this design, there's no reason to worry about it. Everything else is kind of primitive and, serendipity. So you just kind of, nope, we got to go back to the silver. And I do this same stitch on my beaded earrings. When I do earrings, I work with 11s and 15s, smaller. Back to the red. I was hoping that maybe, because we're back in the classroom, Rochelle said another gentleman was thinking about taking the class, but I guess the time didn't work out. So maybe after he sees the video, he'll want to do that. All right, so we've got red, we're going to go teal. Now I'm doing the kits, but I'm actually thinking also of doing, if I have a kit made, I think I could do blanks, don't you? Where we just you just order this way. Then you could put like sequins, you could put your crystal beads on it. You could really do little Chanton Rivolis on these guys, do little bezels. Huh, what do you think? I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, me too.
Didn't you think I was clever? I came up with stitching around a small piece of doweling. No fancy metal hangers for this girl. Goodness, but I liked it. All right, keep going here. Have you gotten to the corner, Maggie?
Almost.
Yeah, okay. Carla, where are you? Are you where
Well, I am just going to start that now. I have, or should I just finish all of my canthus?
Okay, just put that down quick. If you don't want to lose your needle and thread, because everybody knows nobody likes to rethread a needle.
Well, I am just at the spot where I'm gonna have to rethread anyway, so that's
Okay.
why
All
I
right.
was thinking that would be a good place to stop.
All right. You work with the Canton. I'll call you back in here. When I get to that, I want to try to hurry up so I can show you. Maggie, you probably, it's, you know, to people that bead, it's not a big deal. We just kind of go along here. I do have some people that just started this and they'll be coming into the store to work with me, and this is good we're having the class today, because I think this is how I'm going to handle it with them too. We'll just try to do a quick overview, and not that it's so quick, but do an overview of all the parts and then come back and work what might be giving them more trouble. Maggie, well, girls, have you done bead embroidery?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Then I might be the newest, I might be the newbie of the group.
Let's see. Okay, so I am just at the corner here.
Okay, now you can see where I am. I have got, let's get it. I've got a little bit right here. So I am still going to put a bead in right here.
Okay, that's about where I am too, so.
So I'm, you know, it's not right on the point, but it's kind of like right on that little stitching line. There's such a little edging there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to come up. All right, now we're just going to continue on. We're going to add, for me, my next color is yellow. And my needle is coming out the same base point. It's kind of like, see that? My needle's coming right up out of that point of the base. And I turn my piece. And now I'm going to come up. So it's kind of a right angle. Well, it's a 45 angle. That pull that bead down. This will pull this up. There you go. You kind of have to rework it. But that's what I do. I go to bring my needle out from the back to the front at the base of the last stitch. And then I turn my piece. And then I add my bead and I continue on. So I'm going to go down maybe about an inch here.
Okay.
Now, anybody want to see any close-up? Are you doing okay? I can ask Rochelle to, I think this had turned out to be the best, where you could look at the stitching. Yellow, what do you think?
Yeah, no, that's clear. Is that clear for you, Carla?
yes.
Maggie, are you working or are you just doing your volunteering or working with UMBS?
Well, you know, Lisa and I have our things we do. I've got
Your
my
kits.
shop, we send out our
Yep.
newsletters, you know.
So yeah, you're handling it like a business. You're working.
Oh, yeah,
She's a lot.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, Lisa and I are doing our Tucson classes thing.
Mm-hmm. So you stayed doing that. That's good.
You know, in place of the shows, we do it ourselves at a local hotel.
That's interesting. And you have enough following, they're going to follow you there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, obviously not last year, and this year we've got just a few students, not like we had a couple of years ago, but you know, that's COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when everybody feels safe, they'll start coming back.
I think
But yeah,
I think
that,
that's
you know,
really
after
smart.
that awful experience at the casino show, we just decided we could do better on our own, and we have.
And a lot of people have done things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
not
we've
alone.
even talked about, with a couple of other people, we've talked about getting together, like, you know, a group of teachers, like a consortium of teachers, not
Mhm.
just Lisa and I, and see what we can do with that. Don't have any details other than just, you know, the brain fart.
Well, no, you want to just see how it goes, and it gives you something to work toward.
So that's just an idea and something that we might get to.
So are we now basically like that? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do one side and come back and do the other side. Are we at a good place to, do we have a long, you know, you got your thread. I'm just going to,
Mhm.
okay.
For the, okay, so the further embellishments, you mean,
Yep.
adding top
What
and
we're
bottom?
going to do is add now the silver bead on the bottom and the silver bead on the top, just on our tree side. And then later we'll come back, flip it again, and then we'll just do the bottom beads. Because there's like, there's our edging here. Hi, Robert. There's our edging here. And then we've got a bead we'll add down there. Does that make sense, you guys? Here,
Yep.
let's see if I got the direction. here. Okay. Okay. We're on page 2. Right here is what we're going to do next. We just did this. So now we're going to add our bead. We're just working with the palladium silver on this one. Okay. We're going to go in and out. So I'm over here. I'm just going to pretend like this is all done. And I'm coming out of my bead. Okay. So I'm going to add a bead. And I'm going to go down my red. I'm not going through any fabric, just down the bead. Okay.
So your palladium bead sits sideways, right
Yep,
on top
now,
of those.
yep, now they'll be sitting sideways. And now
Okay.
I'm coming out of the bottom bead. I'm not going through any fabric, and I'm going to add a bead on the bottom. So it gives that, chevron or
Kind of
up,
a
down.
zigzaggy look.
And now I came out of one bead and I added a bead and I'm going to come down. I happen to be doing all silver so it will be all the palladium, and then the inner row will be the color.
Yeah.
Get that pulled. Maybe this way. There, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so let's add our trim. You guys, I have awful quiet homes there. Anybody around?
I live alone and I didn't turn on the TV, just,
Any animals?
nope,
Not even a cat?
not anymore, no.
I have a Chihuahua. Now, if I were beading and he were here, we would have to have a pillow or a chair right next to me. Otherwise, he thinks he should be in my lap all the time. Okay, now even at the corner, okay, I'm just going however the beads tell me. I'm not going, I'm going to get this untwisted here. Okay, so I started here, up, down through the bead. We will back and forth, up and down. Now I'm here to the corner. I'm coming out of the bottom. I'm going to add a bead and come out the top. I'm not changing anything. There's no special. I'm just following the beads that are there. Okay. So there's no worry about, a right angle weave corner or going through a bead twice or nothing like that. I have a 14-year-old grandson. And
Mhm.
he just started working at McDonald's.
Good for
And
him.
he's been there a month. And I talked to him today. I said, I've been thinking about you. I'm having my quiet time with my coffee, thinking about you. How are you doing? Well, then he FaceTimed me. And here he is with his McDonald's hat on. He was taking a break. And he said, Grandma, I'm learning patience. Do you know how many times people change their mind when they're ordering?
Yeah, think.
Oh gosh, that was so funny. I'm learning patience. Oh gosh. Yeah, he would be the one. Well, now I caught the cancer. So now I'm gonna have to literally take my needle out because I'm not paying attention. I caught my bead needle through the cantha cord because I was talking and not paying attention. Serves me right. Now I got to rethread the needle. You know, that's a feat worse than death. Okay. Oh, gonna have to cut it. Got too much fringe. Hey, what kind of scissors do you guys like for cutting fireline?
I have something called Juron.
Yep, that's what I got too.
XURON. Is
It's
that what you have?
XURON. Yep, that's the best scissors I found. I didn't know, and they're not cheap. I just didn't know if anybody else had another idea.
Yeah, no, they're the best ones I found.
I use my little cheap little kid scissor.
And it works?
It works just fine.
Isn't that something?
I found that out at when the bead store in Excelsior. One
Oh.
of the people there discovered it, and so every time she'd go to Axeman, she'd buy a supply and share them. So it's worked just great.
No, she's not there anymore. Do you know how she's doing?
No, she was in town a week or so ago, but I wasn't able to join the group that had lunch with her, and so I forgot to ask if she had any. Well, I would have assumed if she had any exciting news that
You would
I
have heard
would have
from your other
heard.
friends. So
Yeah,
basically everybody's good. Where did they move to?
Clear Lake, Iowa, or someplace like
I
that.
knew they were relocating. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where her husband was from or
Okay.
something.
Yeah.
And I
Is this
know
the
she,
woman- Is this the woman who had the little bird song or whatever?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Birdstone is what,
Birdstone.
and she tried, I know that she was trying to set up an online store, but I don't know if it was successful or if she even finished it. You know, periodically she'll post something on Facebook, but not regularly.
Mhm.
All right, girls. Now I did the top. Are we all done with our going in and out for our edging before we turn it over?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
Let's turn it over. Okay. My thread's coming out of one of the base beads. Right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thread down the next bead or put my needle down the next bead, okay? And all we're going to be doing is we've already got the beads on the top, but we need the beads on the bottom, like on the other side. So here's what I do. I'll get going here. I'm going to go down and I'm going to pick up a bead, my 8 palladium, and right next to the red bead is the palladium. So I'm going to go up the palladium, called like little picos, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not going through any of the top beads. I'm just going to work only on this edging. So now I go to the next bead on the edge, put my needle down through. All we're doing is just kind of backtracking through the edge and adding our bottom bead here. And now I'm going to come back up the next bead. So we have a little place to put that bead. Now I'm going to go down the next bead. Now there is a bead on top, but I'm going to ignore them. Just go down the next bead. And when you're doing, oops, I got through the fabric. I don't like going through the fabric because you can see it. When you're doing this, just make sure you're more apt to catch your thread now because you've got these little catchers on top or little snags. So just kind of make sure that when you're pulling your thread through, that you're not catching it back in here and have a little slag loop or something back there. Any questions? It makes sense, but does it, when you're doing it, doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we're just adding the bottom little accent. And we're trying not to get anything tangled. Okay. Maggie, the Wisconsin Madison show is starting back up. A new they have a new person overseeing it, but that might be an area you and your partner or your business person might want to attend sometime.
Yeah, and I can't remember. They're doing a show this weekend, maybe,
Yeah, I
or
think
next.
it is. November's never good for me. So
No.
I probably won't be doing it, but if they do it in the spring, I might consider it. My family's from around there. So I always, I don't stay with them because my dad is just by himself now and his house is so hot. But I get a hotel room and I go have dinner with them. My sister cooks.
Yeah, and I did hear that they are gonna have one in the spring. And I think it doesn't interfere with the UMBS spring retreat dates, the last I heard.
Hey, where is the spring retreat going to be? Is it in the same place?
Yeah, Wapagasset.
You guys, I don't like bunk beds.
Well,
Everybody gets a lower bunk.
I mean, I'd like a different place. But I know.
Yeah, I'm tired of having to schlep all my bedding and stuff. I agree with you.
well, and I think it's.
I'm just putting it out there. I would be more apt to come if it were a hotel setting.
Right. And yeah, and Lisa and I have talked about doing a retreat, you know, like somewhere out near the Mall of America. Because people can stay in hotel rooms and it isn't all communal living.
That's you say things so politically correct, maybe. I'm so proud.
Well, that's nice to know because I've
Communal
been told many times that I'm way
Yes.
too.
I guess that's my thing, because what do I have? I have a sleep machine. I have, probably I would be snoring. We all know that I'll be getting up and going to the bathroom. Anyway.
Well, we've
Well-
started the quilt shop in Lake City has started doing a retreat at the American
Oh, that would be,
because they have a really nice sized conference room off at the end of the building. And then there's, there's a wing of rooms. So I was just there a couple weeks ago. You didn't have to interact with people too much, except when you went down to breakfast if you wanted, it included
oh, no,
breakfast.
I have no problem with, as you know, the interacting part. I just have more of a thing about my sleep patterns and who knows what.
I have to agree with you there, Suze. I'm not a retreat kind of person in a camp setting. I just don't like it. I like to go to my room and be private. And not that I don't want to spend a lot of time with people. Obviously, I do. But yeah.
Okay, guys, so you done with your edging?
Pretty much.
Okay. We're gonna go into I'm putting my 8s away right now. And I'm gonna go into the 11s now. Maggie, when you bag your beads, do you put, whether it's an 8 or an 11 on your bags?
On the bags, yes. And you know what I found? I tried when I first started making kits, I was doing all those little sticky labels and, all that happy jazz. And found out that they don't stick all
They
that
don't
well.
stay on there. A
Nope.
lot of them,
So now I just take a permanent marker, one of those Sharpies, a fine point
and just
Sharpie,
mark them.
and I write it right on the bag.
Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I
Not very elegant looking, but at least it's marked
it
and
stays,
it's,
at the bag as well. I always assume people are gonna know the size. Well, that's not true now. Now I've got people
no,
have never done beading. They want to try it. And then they're frustrated when they see size 8. What is that? Does that mean
Yeah.
8 beads or? So yeah,
Right.
there's still, and how long has this, I I bought the kit business from Kathy, Glass Garden Beads, and kind of followed the same protocol, but now we're getting, I'm really happy about the fact that people want to try the craft. I mean, we want that, but I don't want them frustrated before they even get started. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get a new thing of thread, because what the next step in the directions anyway is talking a very short term about bead embroidery. And again, it's very simple. It's just a straight on bead embroidery. I call it the 5-3. I put on 5 beads and I go back 3 beads. Again, what I do is I put a little knot on the end because we're working with fabric again. So I put a little, I'll burn a little knot. I can't tell you how this poor end and my thread zapper has been bent, and I probably should get a new one. Okay, there we go. But then when I bring this through, I got to thread it again. Again, needle the thread, not thread the needle. When you do these online classes, you can speed through. You can kind of catch the gist of it and then go do your thing and then come back. I kind of like it. All right. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to do the star, because, you learn some points here, what to do so you get a little better finish instead of it all wobbly all over. So I'm going to bring my needle right up to the top there. The little knot, the point of that statement was the little knot will get covered up in the edge. So there we go. I'm going to get my 11s out. And before we're closed, we'll all have a face-to-face. Hopefully I won't disconnect us all. So we can at least,
A little bit of show and tell.
yeah, we can do some show and tell. All right, so guys, we got do we all have our thread, our beading thread, fire line coming out? And this is 6-pound fire line. I'm using smoke. I like to use smoke a lot. Black is okay, but it does get your fingers. You eventually do have some rub off. Okay, what do I have here? I got 3, 4, 5. So what we do is we put them up down, and you probably already know this. Okay, now look, for me, I'm going to just show you. 5 goes down too far. You see that? So I'm going to take 1 bead off right off the bat, because I really want to go. With bead embroidery, you kind of want to know your direction you're going, especially if you want any points. So I'm going to take this 1 off. So I'm going to backtrack through this 1 bead.
And these are the 11s, right?
These are the 11s we're on.
Okay.
And I'm going to put it down, and literally I'm going to put my needle right where it ends. And eventually when you're holding this, and they're going to wander off, but at least your needle is going to go into a place. And I'm going to kind of bring my needle back almost like 3 beads right back to here. So I'm doing that, and I'm bringing my needle back through the 2 liners. I don't want my thread showing on this side. I'm just kind of sneaking that needle right underneath the surface of this top cloth. So basically, I guess I didn't go back 3, but I went back 2. So that's how another way I look at it. Where is this coming out of? Let's get it up here. It's here, and then I go that way. See that? It's not quite back 3, but I'm going to leave it for now. And then I'm going to go back toward, it would be the end of my row, and bring my thread out. There. I've got a nice little row of beads. Now I want to turn it though. See that? I want to turn it. So I am going to add 5 this next time, but we're going to go right from this pivoting point to here. So that will give us a nice clean edge. Okay, so let's add 5 more beads. Are we all together here? Are we doing the same thing?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Or trying to, at least.
All right. So here you can see it's stopping where I ended. I'm over here. I'm not quite to the point, but I'm not going to add any more beads either. So I'm going to go put my needle where I want it to go in to hold the beads in place. You're kind of thinking you want to have a stopping point to get those beads in place. And I'm going to come back almost the whole way because I only have I want to go through 3 beads this time. And I am. Oops, let's bring it down this way. I'll be putting my needle back in right here. See that? Pull it. Once you get the hang of this, it goes pretty fast. Okay. Now, I want to go all the way to the end here. I want a little bigger point here. So I am going to add 2 beads. So this is it. It's really the piece that you're bead embroidering around really tells you how many beads you're going to add and where. But I'm going to go straight down, and I'm still going to go back 3 beads. I am going to go back into that other place, that other row I just had. I come back 3 beads. It kind of connects everything. Get in here. Oh, come on here. You guys talk to your work when you're doing it? I'm talking to my beads right now.
All the time.
Like, you little bugger. Okay, so now we're here. We're at a good point. So what we can do, we can bring it around. You'll have a little more rounded edge. You can see where my thread line is actually going to show you where the beads will go. Okay, it's kind of below. Well, I'm not too sure I like that. So I'm going to just tuck under that last couple of beads because I like the little sharper point. And I'm going to bring my thread so it exits right there, kind of here. I wanted a little sharper here, and I'm just going to bring my thread down back a couple beads. So I went underneath between the layers, and I just moved the thread where it exited. So now I'm going to add, let's see where 5 beads get me. It is putsy doing these little things, but when you do circles, it's even more putsy, which we're going to do. Okay. See that? Again, I'm going to take off 2 beads because I only want maybe 3 beads there, but this is how I kind of get my look I want. And I want you to do the same. Okay, so I'm going to take off 2 beads. And when you get pretty good at this, you know, you go, okay, we're only adding 3 beads, we're only adding 1 bead or whatever. Get that back down there. Okay. My needle's going to go in where the last bead is, and it's going to go back just a couple. And then I'm going to pull the thread up the closest to, come back through. Okay, and now I'm going to come back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'll be using all 5. I kind of like the long points. Okay. Go in, come back. About 3. Go. Here, again, you pull your thread down. Where did you exit that? So that's where you're going to put your needle through the last beads. I'm going to lift it up a little bit and so you see it better. There you go. And we're really pretending like the cantha doesn't exist. We're only focusing on doing our edging for whatever we want our edging to be. Now, I like that. So I'm not going to move my thread coming out anymore. I'm just going to add 5 beads and come up, and I'll show you how that would look when you keep everything all together. See how that it's not a sharp point, but you can always come back and do little bead picots or do little bead insets where you float your needle, and I'll do that. We'll float our needle underneath and just kind of come up through the fabric, catch a bead, and go back right back down, and they become little beaded dots. And see where that ends. Okay, you guys are quiet. That must mean you're thinking.
No, it means that I have 1 bead that doesn't want to lay down, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it.
Is it on a corner or is it flat?
No,
or
for some reason, I thought I had the right amount of beads, but it's like it's got 1 too many bead in here, and I'm thinking it
kind of like mine right here. This guy's going wonky. I might kind of
Yeah.
come back and take care of him later.
well, I'm thinking I might break this one to get rid of it.
Yeah, we can do that. There's many ways, isn't there, to make them bend to our will.
Yes, I am the boss.
So
maybe.
it isn't, now, see this, now this is kind of sometimes where it happens. My thread is actually coming over here, and you know that a bead will be in here and coming around. So I'm going to show you. So when I see how that kind of bends around, I know that my thread has to catch right, bring it right back to that point. And that will keep the beads from sliding around and being too rounded. So I bring it right back to that point. The beads there, okay. Right there, see that? The thread itself makes it into a nice point. So now I go down through 3. Even though this is still over there, it just kind of makes that, the thread line makes the bead sit. Now we're going to do a point here. And sometimes the beads will go around. Maggie, you've seen a lot of teachers. What's another way, do you find that we should go to another format? Are we doing okay here?
No, I think this is great.
Okay,
No, I think this is working just fine.
okay. Because we're not using the directions like a lot of people will go right online. And that's mostly because, you guys, I don't really know how to do that. I'm afraid I'll touch something and then it will be done.
You'll lose everything, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, you got to get proficient at switching between camera views.
yeah, you know, and you got to learn, like I can't tell you how many times I've tried recording something, thought I was recording, get done, nothing converts.
Yep.
Again, I've got my 6 or my 5 on. Pulling it up here. I know where I kind of want to stop and putting my needle in right where it ends. Going back just between the layers, just on the top part of the fabric. Okay, and that's 3 beads. Are you working with any more new interesting beads that have come out? I haven't even been, we're so seed bead oriented, and I decided it's too hard. I'd rather do a project like one of your kits, Maggie, that have the interesting beads, and then try to have all the beads in the store. I'm staying more seed beads in check now.
Well, and there's just only so much you can carry. I know, when Beadville was open, Bobby couldn't carry just every single kind of 2 and 3 hole bead because you'd go broke.
Yeah.
And you couldn't possibly sell enough to make it worthwhile.
Hey, is she online now?
She's working on getting online.
It's hard. I know it's hard.
Yeah. She's they've been at it since January, or no, probably almost a year now. And she said they had so many SKUs in their store. I think she's maybe 25% of the way through.
Yeah, it's hard.
After almost a year.
Okay, now we're coming around. Before we were ending it and we were just kind of having an edge. Now I've got enough to bring around. So I've added the 5, but what I'm going to do is go back. I know where it's going to end. I'm kind of getting the placement of where it's going to end. Okay, right there. But I don't want it to slide in and around. So I'm going to be bringing my needle right there. And what that does is the beads will wrap around there and that little point right there will stop it. So, okay, watch what happens here when I pull this. I think that's a better way of, sometimes my explaining isn't the best. Okay. Okay.
How is it going at your shop?
You know, the kits are growing very, very well. I'm so happy that the kits are growing.
Good.
People walking in, like we had a party today, right before I left, great group of young people were in there making the diaconus kit. They love
Oh,
that
yeah.
leather kit, that chevron.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's getting a little better, but that the people walking in is a hard number to keep up.
Yeah.
So, you know, everything's a struggle. It's an up and down. I so love the craft. I don't want to, you know, I'm still healthy. I'm still paying my rent. So I'm just going to let it kind of, I brought in my boutique. So, you know, it's looking different. We have a different looking store. It's still
Mhm.
very much pointed toward DIY. I have thought, okay, I better start trying to do some already made jewelry and things. So we'll be kind of focusing on that now this next year, a little more what I call ready-made.
Right.
But I'm not,
I think that's what Shelley seems to be doing
yeah,
at
I think you
Lotus.
have to, people just are equating making into time that they don't have. And, but I'm also trying to use it as a social thing because our shop has what we call open table. And it's such a nice lit area that it's just enjoyable to sit there.
Mhm.
So I'm still trying to get people to come in and just bead. You know, I don't do the class fee so much. I'm trying to not make anything a challenge. Now, if we have a special teacher come in, then they're paying for a class.
Right.
But if it's me, it's pretty much casual learning because I'm really the only one in the shop. Everything downsized.
Well, so do then your students buy the supplies from
Yeah.
you, obviously.
Yeah, then they, you know, if they wanna, they buy it and then they can sit there and make it and I'll help them get started. Usually start and finish. They can, once they learn whatever the technique is. And
Uh-huh.
most of it, when with younger people, it's more stranding. It's not a lot of stitching involved. However, I'd love
Right.
to teach stitching more for them. Some of them are pretty good. Got this all tangled up here. Sorry, guys.
You're in Faribault, right?
Yes, I am. Glass Garden Beads. It's an old store. It's an old business rather.
Right.
It started, I think we're going to probably go on a quarter of a century. I think we're going on 25 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I have been there a couple of times. Not for a couple of years, but
Did you come down to Faribault once I owned it, or were you
I think it was
with Kathy?
with Kathy
Yeah,
and or
yeah,
you were in the process of,
Yeah.
yeah, I am not exactly sure. I have a cousin living in Faribault, so I would go down to meet her once in a while.
You should bring your cousin in. Does she like to do the craft?
Well, she's bought stuff from me and I did try to get her interested once, but I don't know.
You know, it is something. It's something either people will enjoy it or they have
Or
to
they
look at-
don't. Yeah. It's an interesting,
One of my very best friends will hand it to me and say, "You make it."
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I kind of have the star done. I want to move this over. And you know what? I don't trim. I guess I could knot it off here if I wanted to. I'm going to scoop my needle between the layers here over here. I want to do a little round circle. So I'm just going to show you whether you want to do a little round circle. The other thing you could do is we could do a little dot, a bead dot in the middle. So I'm going to do a circle and then I'll probably do a little bead dot on each of the corners.
Like a French knot kind of thing? Is that what you?
No, a little bead dot. So I'm going to continue on with the straight bead embroidery going around. So I'm going to still pick up. Kind of guess how I kind of curve it. I literally shape it with my finger. And I'm going to go back. I don't count the beads so much. I get them out of the way, but I want to keep that bead line on the edge of that round. So I bring the needle, because right here, it's kind of right between. Here's the end, here's where it's going in, and here's where I want it to stop the curve. So I come back a little bit, kind of like a horseshoe. Okay, see that? Gets a little bit of a point, but I'm going to show you how to fix that in a bit. And then I'm going to go, it just kind of comes out 2 beads and we'll continue on around. Not too bad, not too pointed. So now we'll see how many beads it takes to connect. 1, 2, 3. So did you guys get snow? What a thing, huh? It was kind of pretty.
We're getting snow now.
Are ya? I can't see out.
Started half an hour ago. You should probably be getting it in the cities there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping they were going to be wrong about that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Same
I
thing.
have a party to go to tonight. And
Yeah.
it's like, what are the odds that it's the first party in months? And
Well, it'll
Yeah.
be festive.
yeah, exactly. I have a very weird shaped star here. It's like a flat and spread out. I don't know.
Well, does it look like that?
Oh, yeah, I guess yours is too. Yeah.
Okay. And on the original, kind of goes that way. And then I put some of my colored beads on that I had left over.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, isn't that cute?
And see in here where I put a little yellow bead in there. So maybe that's what I'll do. And do you see how I do the little dots with I actually float the needle underneath. So I'll do one of these. I'll do one of those. I've got this done. So now it's kind of wonky, but what I'm doing is I'm going back through all the beads. And when you pull them, it kind of just gets the shape a little softer. Okay, now we're going to add the bead in the middle. So I'm going to go tuck under. I'm just going to tuck between, just kind of get my thread in there or my needle in there. There we go. Just right in the middle coming out. Gotta shorten my tail here. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna put a little yellow bead in here. Looks like that's what I did. So you come in, you come out of the fabric, you add your bead, and literally just go right back into the fabric, almost right next to it. So all you're doing is you're catching that bead with some thread. And now I'll kind of float my needle off to the point that I want to add my seed bead, and I'll do the same. See? And I'll do the same for all the little beads here. So here's a little point. I came out, I added my bead. I'm just gonna go right next to where the thread exited. And I'll float it. So I'm actually kind of making the fabric go apart. So there's not gonna see any line on the back. And yes, there's thread being, wasted under there, but it's easier than knotting every time. Again, I'm floating the needle. Now, I'm using beads, Carla, where you could use French knots if you wanted to with embroidery thread.
Okay.
I'm giving one of these to my neighbor. And on hers, I did, like I told you, a little more embroidery. And I'm going to put tassels hanging on the bottom.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that
Yes.
idea.
Make some tassels. I kind of like that idea.
Mm-hmm. It'd be pretty.
So do you have the squares? Or are you only selling them as full kits?
Right now it's full kits, but I got to tell you from from how I've been working with this, and you can come up with your own alternatives. I think I'm going to put them online for probably $10 or $12. I have to just price it out, but I'm thinking that's what I priced when I put it in the kit.
Yeah,
And,
because I don't know that I would necessarily invest in another kit, but if I could get the batik part, I've got all the stuff that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you interested in the two-sided? Do you like that pillow where I stitch two pieces together? Otherwise, I can release just the flat one for $5. That's what I've been selling them at the store for. Just the square. Yeah, just the batik square because quilters use these.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I may have
just
to give you a call.
Yeah, I don't have anything online, but yeah, if you're interested, that's just because I'm learning my way.
Sure.
I thought about it. I thought, they need to take a picture of it and show that it does have rough edges and,
Yeah.
I can tell you, here's the difference and see if my kind of learning this is what a quilter would think. A quilter does not like me finishing the edges. They want, from my experience working with them, they want to do their own finishing. A beater wants this piece done for them and just wants to get into it and bead. Correct? Not correct?
Well, I don't know.
Like
you're probably right about the quilter because they're going to incorporate it into
yeah, they
something.
like to put, I did some table runners and they like to put their things on the edge. That's kind of their challenge. And then now I'm thinking this year I probably won't get them done for Christmas, but next year I'm going to have more finished things where people can just come to the store, pick up a piece that is the cotton linen, maybe backed with something, and it becomes kind of something you put on their table. So I am thinking of doing that. So meanwhile, you guys, we kind of got off track. I was asking your opinion and giving you mine. We did the bead embroidery. Okay. And the one thing I want to do is going into beading our doweling that we have. Because we've really done well. You guys have held with me. And now it's kind of like, it's not hard to do, but I think you'll find it kind of interesting how we put, here, I know I dropped this earlier here, how we put the check glass bead on the end. So we're gonna start beading this. So when you get ready, I'm going to get my needle and thread ready for this guy. Okay.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy? I love my pieces. I think, okay, here's my idea for next year. If we have a tree, okay, and you're hanging it like this, you could then add another tree that I do below it. Kind of start with, you know, my
Oh, sure.
building.
Yep.
My, oh, aren't I just like the worst bragger you ever heard? But I just love my little fabric pieces. I like the squares better than the big pieces. The big pieces kind of like, oh my God, I got to figure that out. The little pieces I can handle. So for kids, I think you're going to see more little pieces in you, or the little earrings, you know? All
Well,
right.
you have to ask, because you're gonna, if you don't know what people are willing to spend their money and time on, you could get caught out pretty badly.
Oh, I
know?
know. It's just, it's kind of like, but this is funny. You will, Maggie, you know me. If, you know, I've got my batiks hanging and obviously they're all there, and the colors, I tend to have things pretty bright. They're not really subtle. And, you know, it's not for everybody. I know this. And, but that's my heart hanging out there. So, you know, you say, oh, how are you? What do you think of the batiks? And somebody will say, oh, that's not my thing. You know, I can get that fabric and just cut little squares at so-and-so, not knowing that I created this thing. And and then I was telling a friend this, and she said, what do you do? I said, I go to the bathroom and pout. It is
Yeah.
kind of like that. The first time you hear it, it's like, oh God, you know, I'm
I
not,
can't tell you how many times it shows. Lisa and I have both heard, they look at our designs and they go, oh, I could have done that all by myself. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, one woman was so rude. I just said, well, why didn't you then?
yeah,
I did.
you can't, it's so hard not to respond,
I know.
you know, and you know, it's not for anybody, but has anyone put their heart out on the platter and had people
Yeah.
stomp on it? It's
I
like,
remember
oh,
my classic was, I was at a church sale once, and this woman was saying that, oh, your prices are too high. And none of my stuff was overpriced. I'm pretty conservative in my pricing. And I said, well, what do you think it should sell for? Now, this was something that I had marked at $30.
mhm.
Oh, $5.
What?
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, number one, that doesn't even cover half of the beads. You know, it just goes to show what people, if they don't know, they don't understand.
You know, I
Just,
think
you
there's
know,
a huge misunderstanding of what handmade is. It's very, I don't know, there's a lot of quality in handmade, and they
Yeah.
somehow got the reason they think everything should be so cheap, and I'm not sure where that came from, but handmade art.
It came from Walmart, you know.
I think well, that will get, you should see, I get customers in with their cosmetic jewelry, you know, and
Yeah.
it's dumping will come off or something. But if it's a restranding and it's like multiple strands, you know how much time that takes? And I said, I would rather teach you how to put the beads on and do it yourself instead of paying me to do that. Oh, well, what do you charge? I said, well, traditionally I charge $20 an hour when I work on anything.
Yep.
And she goes, well, the piece didn't even cost me $20. I said, that's where that's why I share that with you. If it's a fun piece, you like it and you're attached to it, I really encourage you to just come in, sit down and strand it, you know, and I'll help you with the ends. But it's amazing, you know, like why were you coming to me to help you fix it if you didn't, I'm not sure what they were thinking I was gonna say.
Yeah, we used to get that all the time at Beadville too, and it was, people just didn't know. They're like, well, I only spent $10.99 on it, and and then my question is, and how long have you had it? Oh, about 6 months, and it's broken already. Well, you get what you paid for. If you want it, restrung so that it'll last for several years, you have to pay for that. And you
It's
have to
just,
pay for
yep.
the expertise of those of us in the shop who know
And
what
if-
we're doing.
and with people that are gonna hear this video, I'm sure they're nodding their heads because, we're all pretty much makers.
Yes.
We make our things, and that's
Mhm.
just kind of what we do, and it's like, oh, jeepers. Okay, meanwhile, now we're to the doweling part, you guys. You have your thread, you have your new needle and thread ready.
Yep.
Okay, 12 beads, and that is on the directions. And I just flipped off my beads. It flew all over Rochelle's computer. Oh. That is what I do. I talk with my hands, and the next thing you know, a ring got caught. I'll quickly do it. But meanwhile, just put on 12 beads. And what I do is I tie a knot, and then I go through it again. And then we'll burn that tail. The other thing you could do, this is what another customer of mine did. You can have a long tail, because what I end up doing is I come back and weave, I come backwards, like right here. We're gonna, do maybe an inch of it, and then I weave back. So if you have a long tail here, you wouldn't have to weave back. So let's make that, guys can make that call now. I tend to get always knotted up in the tail. So you choose. If you want to leave a long tail, leave about, I'd say 4 inches. I'm counting 12 beads on here right now because I made a mess. Oh, 3, 6, 8, 12.
How long a thread did you
I just,
suggest?
for this, I did a little over a half a wingspan. And when I do a wingspan, it's usually under my chin to the end of my finger. That's a half a wingspan. A full wingspan is, putting your hands here. Where are they? Right here. Putting your hands far apart, as far as you can stretch them across your chest, like you would yardage.
Okay.
So, some people, I tend to I do a mediocre length. A lot of people like 6 feet of thread because they don't want to change their needle. It just gets all twisted for me. I'm not good like that.
Well, I don't like adding thread when I.
So if you get, this, you're going to use quite a bit of thread. So if you want to use a fairly decent amount, like a couple 6 to 8 feet, you can. You're just going to have to be pulling it out. Now I want to show you 12 beads should fit your doweling quite well.
And these are the size 11.
We're using 11s, and I hold the tail, and I'm going to go through here again. It just is easier for me. So I'm going to go through and reinforce the circle. Keep going around. I can already tell, I must not have knotted my knot right. Do a square knot and then tie it one more time. Here we go. I can't believe the phone hasn't been ringing about something. That's the other thing. I'll be doing a video and I forget to turn my phone off. Ying, ying, ying.
Mhm.
Okay. And like I said, I don't like long threads, so I'm gonna burn this. And once we have the knot here, just go past your knot, bring your thread through. You kind of want to pull that knot in a little bit. It just helps. So I'm gonna go over 2 beads before I start the peyote. And we're gonna start a peyote. Now it'll be even. So that means there's gonna be a step up. So here we go. Grab a bead. Now, if you're not familiar, and I'm going to talk kind of in general here, you guys, if you're not familiar with a peyote, you have a bead, you're going to skip this bead and go into, you put a bead on, but when your needle's coming out of this bead, you don't put anything into that bead and you go into the next bead. And I'm going to show you where that sits. Right there. It sits on top of the bead you skipped. Okay. So the needle's coming out here. We add a bead. Okay. The thread is coming out of this bead, so we don't go at all into that bead. We go into the next bead. And I like to get them in position. Okay, so it should be looking like that. Let's go. All right, I'm going to put a bead on, and we're working with size 11s. Now look closely. This is, if you've never done this before, the thread is literally, we're going this way, and I'm beading away from me. The thread is coming out of this bead. And with peyote, you skip a bead, but well, I added one. Okay. I'm going to skip it and I'm going to put my needle through the next bead. Right there. I'm trying to get an angle. I'm looking at the screen here. There we go. That looks like a good. Okay, I'm going to pull this through. And then I want this setting right on top of the bead that we skipped. Okay. And I got to fix my mask. Okay. We're adding a bead. There, my mask went again. I'm going to. Okay. You always look to where your thread's coming out. You don't want to put, yeah, I have the bead on. I don't want to put my needle in the next bead. I want to skip it and then go into this bead. Oops, right there. And then I want it placed. I do think this is really important to place your bead. It's starting to look like a little crown. Okay. And that's because you're skipping a bead. All right. We're going to keep going here. I came out of the bead, put down here. I'm going to add a bead, put one on my needle. And I'm going to skip, it's coming out of this bead, so the thread's already been through there. I'm going to skip this bead and I'm going to put my needle through the next bead. All right. We're getting close to where where we had started, but there's still another one. So it's coming out of this bead. We're adding a bead. And the needle is going to go into this bead right here. Okay. Now, we're getting really close to here. We haven't gone through that bead down there, or we haven't gone through this bead up here. We're just going to get, we're going to finish our row. Okay. And that sits right up there. Okay. And our thread is right down there. Our thread is coming right out of this bead. So what are we going to do? We want to start our next row. We don't add any beads this time. We call it a step up. We go right to the bead on top of the second row. And we get our thread coming out of that bead. Okay, see that? And now I call them, we're just going to add a bead and we're going to go through all our little towers, or I call it filling. So let's do that. Add a bead, go through the next bead. It's really easy. And pull. Okay. Add a bead, go through the next bead. Okay. Add a bead. How you guys doing? You already down to row 4 and 5 already?
No, I'm just.
Is it going okay for you, Carla?
Yes, I had needle threading issues again. Obviously, I'm challenged today. And actually, I may have to leave here in just a few minutes because like I said, I've got someplace to be tonight and I do need to
Okay, I'll
change.
yep. Well, what I'm going to do then, I'm going to show you real quick what we got going here. Okay. So have you done peyote?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are now to where we're going to come up on another row. So what time do you have to leave? 4? Did you want to stay till 4?
Well, isn't it 4 already?
Yes, 4
Yeah.
right now. What I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you is,
I can say about another 10 minutes.
okay, so I'm going to do another row here. So I'm going to continue on. My thread, I just did my thread ended, and you can still kind of see there's, you know, some of the beads are sitting higher than the others. So I'm going to do my step up. I'm not adding a bead. I just do my step up, and I'm going to add a bead. And what's nice about peyote is there's always the little, what I call little towers that are showing. And then you use them. Here, I did such a good job. There we go. Now we see that I'm starting a new row. So now I have 3. And I just went through that bead. So now I'm going to add 3 in this row. So that's the other thing I've learned from doing this is look at how many row beads you have, and they should alternate, like they should be 3, 2, 3, 2. And then when you fill it up, then it's 3, 3, 3 all the way around. So sometimes I get lost and I have to count it that way. Get that guy over here. So, and this is the other way I do it. I put my needle right in between. So I make sure that the columns are there. Okay, now I know I need a bead here. And I go through this guy. And I get him lined up. Okay, 3, 2, 3, 2. Another bead. Maggie, I'm not hearing anything. You doing okay?
I am just peyoteing away here.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep going here, kind of showing you my little tricks, and you probably have done it yourself. I just kind of realign the columns. because you get to the point where you're at the last bead and you go, now, where do I go? Well, you just look at that and you go, okay, I ended, there's 3 here. Well, you're going to start a new row because you're going to need to add 3 to that row. So you just kind of pass your needle through without adding a bead, just pass your needle through. It's called the step up. And now you're going to be adding, they're going to start matching because you had 3 here, you're going to add 3 here now. So it all starts making sense. And do pull, I can see I'm a little loose here, but do keep pulling your thread, get tension. Gives it a nice look. Well, we didn't speed through anything. I suppose we could have done this a little quicker. I really appreciate you guys giving the time today and buying the kit and letting me be a part of your day.
Well, this is just such an unusual design and kit idea.
Yeah,
I like it.
Well, I'm sure any creatives, you know, you can take this to another level. You guys all know that. You can add some wonderful crystal embellishments, you know, just go and that's what I try to do. I try to show.
well,
do-
I sort of like the idea of like
Tassels?
having 2 or 3 of them, like, yeah, tassel, but having 2 or 3 of them together.
Yeah, and
you
you're
know,
welcome to call the store. I can do them up. I haven't just got my act together for marketing of them yet, but certainly, you know, I'm talking about them. I certainly can. They're doable. I mean, I certainly
Yep.
can do it. I've got them. I buy the fabric in kit form. I want to double check that. 4, 3. Okay.
So how do you finish off the ends?
With the fire polish, you mean?
With the end of, once this whole thing is done,
The peyote?
the peyote.
Okay, let's just do it right now. I'm going to go into it. I'll show you what I did. Okay, take our fire polish up. Usually I do about 1 inch. This is maybe not quite a 1/2 inch. Okay, I do a little more, but I slide it. See how that can be slid down?
Yep.
Okay, now let's take our fire polish. Let's make a little opening in there. Take our fire polish and right straight across from this bead, I have my fire polish in there. I put
Uh-huh.
so we're
That's-
literally stranding on that bead there. See that?
Very nice.
Okay.
Yep.
Now I just weave around. I go down. I just weave. I don't add any beads. I'm just going around the peyote on
Yep.
the end. Up, down, up, down. I don't want any thread showing. And when I get to the hole on the other side, I go through again. And then I peyote around the other side. Like I've peyoted around, kind of backtracked on one side here.
Mhm.
Okay. And then see the hole here.
Very nice.
And then I'm going to go back. Okay. Well, I just did this side. So now when I hold it, I'm going to bring the thread over to here. Let's see. No, I'm going to bring the thread down to the closest bead I have. And peyote around. I'll just, you know, basically all I'm doing is reinforcing the beads that are already on there.
Okay.
Coming back and forth. So I've gone through the big fire polish twice. And really, that's all you need to do.
Okay.
It really finishes off that end nicely.
I like that.
It
And
does,
then
it
what I'm going to
really-
show you to do is once you get, when I said I weave back, okay, now I've done, you know, reinforcement around. Okay. And you can see how much, usually what I do is the bead touches the hole. I don't have the bead sunk too much. I like a little red, I like my bead showing. And now once I'm satisfied with, you know, where it is, all I do is I weave my thread back down to the very first row. You know, I don't want to skip anything. Let's see, right there. Here we go. All I'm doing is just weaving down and I'm coming out. See, I've got a little tube here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't like, you know, I like doing my peyote around the tube. It keeps things kind of in line.
Right.
I can see it.
So are there any other tips that I need? I need to go here.
Nope. No, all I'm going to show you is then you just finish it all the way up and you're going to probably go beyond this, maybe 3 rows.
Okay.
I think it's 3 rows that we use down here, 2 or 3, and then do the same thing, a little cup, put your fire polish on it.
Okay.
And I've even had people that get tired, like actually some students, they paint their stick and they just
Oh.
do these little tips.
Sure.
And no, and then the other thing we're going to do is in the directions show you,
I'll
go
put
up
little
the
loops.
second bead,
Okay.
and you're just going through those the big 8s,
Mm-hmm.
and you add a 11. Then you add your fire polish, and then I think it's like 30 some beads I add. And then I come back down through, and all I do is weave it back up, and I just come through a second time.
Okay. Alrighty.
Does that help to look at it? So you can
Yes, it
read
does.
that? Okay.
Excellent. Well, this has been very fun. I'm glad I did it.
I'm glad you did too. Thanks,
And when I actually finish it, I'll send you a picture.
please. Yeah,
Alright.
please do. We'll post it. Maggie, what about you? Do you feel good about it? Do you want to close the day as well?
Yeah, we might as well. I think I got all the parts down. You know, I haven't finished them, obviously.
Yep, but you
but-
felt good about all the,
Yeah, and you know what? If not, I know how to find you.
yep, I just wanted to be sure that we kind of cover everything. I'll give
Yeah.
you, and what I did with this is I just counted 2 in on each side. And
Yep.
let me go to the instructions, make sure I didn't forget that. Let's see. Oh, I have, the good news is, yes, here it is. I have the instructions right there, how to do that.
Yes.
I thought the neatest thing with this is the sliding of it going down was neat, and then you just continue on. So I'm glad that Carla was able to see that.
Yes. And this has just been so nice of you, Suze. I
Oh,
really
gosh,
appreciate
and
it.
I'm
And
happy.
the fact that you're donating back to UMBS
You know
is
what that
just-
is? That is a great way because you know how you can set up wholesale commission. Well, this
Yep.
particular one is set up that way. So I'm
Mhm.
able to then write whoever gets one of these kits. And to be honest with you, if anybody does get a kit in the future and puts UMBS regarding this batik pattern kit now till the end of the year, I'll reimburse you and I'll reimburse them. So all you have to do is if they're listening and want a kit, just have them put a comment that they're from UMBS. And then I'll automatically donate some money to the group because I think it's a good way and it's a good time of year to try to do that. And I'll try to come up with a good one for next year too.
I think that's a lovely idea.
it's just it's because I don't get to be a part of the group as much. And I so loved this group. This group, I got to tell you, when we were meeting in person, I
Mhm.
closed the store early. And it just was good to be with like minds. It didn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with selling. And it was all about what idea were they doing, just the pride of the beading. And oh my goodness. And I'm not real deep in my beading. I'm still learning. And I think I'll probably be learning until I'm unable to do it.
Well, and I think everybody is that way, and that's what makes
Just
it so
think,
fun,
Maggie, I
is you're
would
never
never
gonna
met
know
you.
everything.
Maggie, I would never met you if we wouldn't have done beading.
I know it.
I know, it's just such good people I've met. So thank you very much, everybody. And then have a happy holiday, because this is now going into our Thanksgiving and Christmas season.
Yes, and you too, and I thank you so much. I love your little birdies here too, and your flowers.
Yeah, I know.
I
I
like all
I
those.
know. I love, here's the birdies. Let's see.
Yeah, oh, I just
And
the
that one's
bright, I'm with you, I like the bright colors.
Yeah, this is definitely on screen. You don't see how chartreusey that is. This one was kind of a pod flower, but I still
Mhm.
did the same. Next time I've learned my lesson. I'd rather have each one totally different, like come up with a new background. So I think that's coming. And yeah, I like these. I think this is going to be a kit that lasts a while for me. It's just fun.
I think so too. I think so too. They're really fun, and it isn't complicated beading.
No,
you
it
know.
isn't. And I was glad about that. It could be, people could really be doing some
Oh,
fun things, and I hope
absolutely.
they do. Maybe we should
Yeah.
have a boutique challenge or something I sponsor. Maybe I could do that for the spring.
There you go.
We could talk
That's
about
an
it. Maybe
idea.
you talk to me about it, or Rochelle, we'll talk. Okay,
Yes.
I'll turn this off, and bye-bye, honey. Good to.
Oh, it was so
Yeah.
nice to see you again, Susan. Thank you so much for all of your help.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, now let's see if I can turn this off without a problem. Jeez.
All righty,
Okay.
later.